Let's talk about matching color and trying to get the right color for a leaf, because it's quite important in botanical art that you represent these colors correctly. It's often the greens that identify the plant the most accurately. So I've picked out a few things from my garden, and there are a different range of greens. Some are yellow green, some are kind of a medium green, some of them are quite dark. Some of them are even reddish, like this ajuga leaf. But how do we match these greens? And since we only have a certain number of pigments in our palette, we need to work and figure out how these mixes can occur. And the way that we do this is use this color wheel that we have created. It's going to be quite handy when it comes to knowing what pigments you have in your kit you can use in order to achieve the color that we need to achieve. So I'm going to put these aside, and we'll start by doing a very early sprouting of Rose of Sharon. So you want to put this on your color wheel and see where it wants to be. Now it probably is a yellow green or someplace in between this sap and this yellow green. So let's try that first and see what we end up with. So let's take some sap green, and then we want to take a little lemon yellow because that's the color closest here, all right? And we can tell that it's really not quite right. So what does that mean? That means that you're going to have to modify this probably with the complement. So let's get to the yellow-green first. And when you're mixing color for leaves, my suggestion is you mix a medium to darker concentration or saturation. Don't do a really light tint, even though you're going to need a light tint, because you may need a stronger saturation. Let's see what that looks like. So put your leaf down. All right, that's pretty close. I would say just a very slightest bit of complement. So literally a tip of color. You don't want to alter it too much. You just want the slightest change in the green. Closer. Okay? So that's pretty good. Now, if you need to have it lighter, all you need to do now is take that color that you have and dilute it a little bit, and that'll give you your lighter shades that you might need for highlights, etc., etc. So these would be our colors for our Rose of Sharon. Young Rose of Sharon. And tell yourself what it is that you mixed. You mix sap green plus lemon yellow plus permanent rose. Let's go to this evergreen. Now if you look at it, you'll notice that the needles on the top side are much darker than the needles on the underside. So where do we go? It looks to me like we have to go to somewhere between the green and the Prussian blue. And in this case, we're going to mix up Prussian blue. And again, we're going to use lemon yellow, which I've made a mess of. Let's see what that does for us. We have more Prussian blue than yellow. So let's see what this does. All right, that looks too blue to me. That means we need to add a little bit more yellow. Now I think that green is pretty close, but I think we need to again add complement. You're going to find that with most greens, you really do need to add the complement in order to get too much red. See, I made too much red. Let's see what this does. Not too much complement. So we need to go back again. But at least you know what colors you have to use. You know, you're not guessing, oh, I got to use cadmium yellow pale. You know you've got to use lemon in order to get to the green that you need. Just a little bit. So where do we fall here? I think we fall with this one. And then if you need a shadow in it, that's going to be your shadow color. So again, here we're using Prussian blue plus Windsor lemon plus permanent rose. But what do we do on the underside? And also, what do we do with this center vein, so to speak? All right, so now you can see these shades are much too blue. So what do we have to do? We have to go back and adjust. And I would do this in a separate, don't mix it where you've got your dark green. I would mix it, I'm doing this strictly for presentation here. Mix another set of greens for the underside because you're still going to have to do shadow colors along with these underside colors. Maybe just a little more yellow. So you know you've got, this is the one we're going to use, and this is the one we're going to use. And make sure you mix enough color. That's critical. All right, so we've got our pine needles defined. Another alternative to these pine needles is try using, instead of using Prussian blue, try using ultramarine blue, which has a little bit of red in it. It'll be a little different from so you could try this would be pretty good green also. So this would be French Ultra plus Windsor Lemon. And that's a nice mix also. And you could probably do the same thing on the underside. Let's see what happens. Take this, add more yellow. And that's not a bad green also. So all we did was we took the lemon of the all we did was we took the ultramarine and adjusted the amount of yellow in the mix so that you could get both the underside and the top side of these pine needles. Let's try this ajuga, which is really, really red. So I would recommend, let's see what it says here. Do we want to go this way? Do we want to go this way? But we've also got green in here. So this color wheel doesn't tell us too much. But you can see that there's green in here. So I would definitely start with a dark green. Let's start with French Ultramarine, which is already, if we add yellow to it already, is kind of neutral. I'm going to say that's the color underneath. Let's see. Here's your ajuga. I think that's the color underneath. And now let's add, I'm going to add just a little bit. We're going to add just a little bit of permanent rose, and there's your color. Now, in the case of the lettuce, we can actually use this color because it's a pretty good match. Maybe go just a little bit redder. Let's see. Yeah, okay. And then what we need to do is we need to merge that with a yellow-green. And I might be tempted to cheat a little and use some sap green. And then go a little yellower, even that, after that. So you can almost charge this and then thin it out to get your lettuce colors. In this case, we're using French Ultra plus lemon plus permanent rose. Here we're taking what we used here and using it for this, and then we're adding sap green. So you really have to do these tests to see where your color range is going to be, and then make sure you mix enough paint, like mix wells of paint, so that you do not run out, because let me tell you, trying to remix it again is a real headache. We're going to paint an avocado for your project, and you should really do some tests for that.